I think there's a because I
Is it
saw that, yeah, I got school away.
Oh.
I don't know how he got on my backpack to our building. But
hopefully it stays over there. Yeah, I wonder if anyone's allergic.
For now.
Okay. He's just biding his time, really.
Yeah. I don't know the whole building. Just stayed up here, and then he decided to like run off.
Yeah. This is not a good place for a bee. There's nothing in there.
That's fine. So I sent something in the post channel. Like top out like my doesn't matter. I think just the camera and screen recording and the game at the same time is lag my camera. It's fine. So.
Sometimes you can switch it to using like a hardware encoder, which means
It said it was actually an encoding. Like, it said the encoding was
yeah. Sometimes
I also noticed like story. It's just like Sims mods plus human class plus like you get all stacked up this semester because I'm also doing a video essay class and like some of my like starting. I have my lab. I'm constantly working on those for like everything and like Photoshop and everything. So then I was like, man, I'm really uploading a lot of things. Like all the dailies for like being uploaded. So I was just like, okay, anything that's on YouTube has to go. Because that's what I need to do. Because I literally have a game for PC and I just don't use it.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. So some students would have problems. They record footage of playing on these big DVDs, and they have their phone out before they record something. So then they have to edit it together later. But yeah. So. Oh goodness. Okay. Hello. All right.
So
I can't see very far.
I brought in my own project that I will put on my computer to a flash drive, but I'm using a different editor that's not installed on my computer. Can I install that editor version?
On these machines? Usually not. If your editor version is very close together, then it should probably still work. Opening up a a different project version with a different editor version. But if it's a big editor version change, then you're in trouble. In general, you can't install new software on these machines, but if the software in here isn't right, you might try the Mac machines in Groundbreaks, because I think they have a different version here. But we can take a look during office hours if you want to.
I think I'll try a different editor first, and if anything goes wrong,
cool.
Thank you.
Yep. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Cool. All right. Hello. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. It's good to see you. Another week of EECS 298. There are not many of those remaining, okay? You are really getting down to it. How many weeks do you have remaining? Real weeks, like full weeks. Any idea?
Yeah, isn't it like 3?
It's more like 2.
Oh.
Okay? Because you're going to have a week in the middle that's like the Thanksgiving break. Now, we don't expect you to do any work on the Thanksgiving break, okay? Because you're going to need all your attention on the big Michigan victory over Ohio State, okay? So we don't want you to miss that one. Congrats on finishing. What big homework assignment did you finish just a few moments ago? And I'm not talking about homework 11, because that one was kind of, a little bit small.
The daily model.
That big, juicy, 200-point daily model. Are you serious? I was watching some of the grades as I punched in the 200 points, and boom, those grades going through the roof, okay? So if you've been a little bit nervous about your grades in Canvas, but you got all 200 of those points, then you probably want to look at Canvas again, because you might be very pleasantly surprised by the grade that you now have, okay? But if you're not satisfied with the grade you currently have, remember, there's even more points on the way. We've got lots of extra credit that I have not graded yet, that I won't grade until the very end. And I have to say, there's also a big, juicy chunk of points coming up, because we got a big homework releasing today. But it's not going to be a super hard one, okay? You've got plenty of time so long as you use it well. You also have a big chunk of points coming up for homework 13, lucky number 13. This homework 13 is your final exam, okay? Now that sounds scary, but actually it's just a reflection. It's just you're going to write an essay, and I don't care about your grammar, and I don't care about your structure. I just want you to dump your thoughts about the course as a whole, about the project, about Blender, about Unity, about all these things. And I'm going to give you all the questions that you need to respond to. So it's going to be an easy, big, nice chunk of 50 points right here. You're going to get a big chunk of points right here. So long as you don't forget to turn this one in. Don't forget to turn this one in, okay? Like, that's 200 points, and I'm not going to bend the submission policy just for you at the last moment, okay? It would not be fair or equitable to do so. So please don't forget to turn this one in. It's a big chunk of points. It's not going to be brutal to get those points. But I do not want to see that email come in, okay? Begging me for an exception, because it's probably not going to happen. Okay, so I have a question. How many of you are doing the 494 or trying to do the EECS 494 collaboration extra credit? Anyone in here? Anyone? Oh, not many of you. Interesting. I think maybe our grades are too high. I gotta make the course harder to inspire you to do the extra credit for 494. Okay, is it too hard, or you're not interested, or too much going on?
I think it's
too much going on.
The exam and project season, so
Okay.
I'm like seeing that like as an option. I'm like, I gotta do all these.
I feel you. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it's definitely not for lack of interest. I just have like 3 other final projects.
Got you. Okay, I understand. It's a shame. Pretty quick, pretty easy way to get your name on another big portfolio piece. So if you have the chance, you still got time, you can read about how to do it on the document if you want to. Only 3 objects. They could be small ones. Okay, okay. Cool. So maybe I can tweak some things to make it a little bit easier to say yes to that, because I think it would be very good for your experience, your knowledge, to work with another team and get a genuine. We don't have any teams in this course. Seem weird to you? there was a big debate over whether this final project should be a team-based project. And I went with no. And the reason you might go with no is because you really want each individual artist to get all of that experience, kind of building things themselves. And then the idea is hopefully you'll move on to project-based courses and you'll have all that knowledge. Then you could really be a great contributor with your teammates. So that's the reason why there are no teams in this course. Okay, so this is your chance to be on a team if you want to, this extra credit, but you do not have to. Don't feel pressured to do so. How did the question?
Oh, this course is a lot about like independence and like figuring out how to problem solve, right? Like I became a lot more confident with computers in general, even just through this course. So then you can take that and go on to other teams, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's the hope. And one of the reasons you have to submit everything via Git, it's a bit unusual to use Git for a one-person project. It's not super unusual, but the reason we're having you use Git is because when you join Wolverine Soft Studio, when you join another big team, the way you're going to share things and keep, the team from losing files is going to be through something like Git. On a serious team, that's what you're going to use. Or you'll use something like it, like Perforce or something like that. But, okay, so how did Homework 11 go? Special effects, yeah? Yeah, I knew we were in pretty good position when I think we got some early Discord messages saying it was fun homework. Homework's not supposed to be fun, okay? Well, actually, if you can make it fun, that really increases engagement and retention. So that's always a secondary objective. But I think I misbalanced Homework 10. Homework 10 and Homework 10 too tough, Homework 11 too easy. I think the last kind of character problem should have been in Homework 11. So that's probably what's going to happen next year. And that'll kind of give you a more even difficulty curve all the way through. We really want you creating characters every week, because it is probably the most complex thing you're going to do. You have to create the character, you have to model it, you have to rig it, and things can go wrong there. You have to animate it. It's easy to mess up your actions or accidentally delete something. You then have to bring it into Unity, you have to import it, you have to fix the materials. Sometimes Unity's crazy UI. It's like, wait a second, I have these actions in Blender, but only half of them show up in Unity. So how do you fix that, right? And if you don't know how to fix that, in office hours, I'll show you. There's just a little bit of UI you have to do in Unity to make it show up. And all those things and all those little gotchas that can derail you, if you are doing that full process every week, pretty soon, it's just not a big deal. Just not. But you only get past that kind of stuff if you're doing, if it's repetition. There's a cottage industry out there trying to sell you books and videos and courses on how to not have to just repetitively exercise, right? It's like there's no end of medications and supplements you can try and take that promise you'll get like a buff bod, you'll be much healthier. And it's like all this effort to just like get you to not go to the gym. No, you got to go to the gym, okay? It's like the only way. You want to get good at this kind of stuff, at making games, at making characters, you got to do it. You got to do it repeatedly. You have to do it, fairly often. And that's the only way. You have to dump a lot of time in. So, all right. Okay, enough of a rant here. I'm glad you enjoyed Homework 11. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about your main concern for the next 3 weeks. This is a 2-week assignment, a 2-week project. But the reason we say it's a 2-week project is because there's this big, nice Thanksgiving break, which is very much deserved, I think. But actually, it's really weird because you have Thanksgiving break, then you have like 1 week, and then you got exams. It's like the timing is just, it seems designed just so you can go watch the Ohio State game with family and friends, okay? But I would push this a bit earlier in the semester if I could. We can move Thanksgiving to a different date maybe. Anyway, all right. So we don't expect you and we don't want you to do any work during that Thanksgiving week, but we would like you to rest. And if you want to, show it your games, show your in-progress games to friends and family. Not necessarily even for playtesting or feedback, but because it is so easy to forget. The things you make matter to other people. They really, really do. Okay? You have spent a lot of time in Blender and Unity. You might be getting a little bit burned out on this whole 3D thing. But your friends and family will be seeing your games, your characters, your objects for the very first time. And those people who support you, maybe they're even supporting you financially through college. That's the kind of thing they live for. Okay? So please, you can't just make something great. You have to share it. And even if you don't think what you made is great, someone out there is going to think it's great. And it's probably going to be your family. Okay? And your friends. Okay, so don't neglect that. Definitely share your stuff as you make it. Okay, custom game project. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Last night, I'm just thinking to myself, well, wait a second. How are we actually going to grade this thing? Because if you think about it, you are making a game. And a game can be just about anything. There are games that are very traditional, 3D platformers, but then there are games that are very experimental and a bit artsy, right? And they don't do the things that a lot of other games do. Is it any less of a game? Well, we want to give you as much freedom as we can on this assignment. But this assignment also has to work to vet how well you know all the different topics we've hit this semester. So there are certain requirements that your game has to have, and if you look at this document, it is a checklist. It is a checklist of things you've got to hit, and if it's not on here, you don't need to do it. Okay? So what you'll find, I think, as you read this checklist, is that as long as you've got characters and you've got an environment in your game, and you've got some audio, you can kind of sort of make whatever kind of game you want. You are using the technology I provided, which is geared for a platformer, but I don't think there's anything in here that says you have to have a platformer. So, and I'm kind of looking at Nicholas over there, right? Those of you who want to go and really heavily customize this final project, those of you who are really interested in diving into the code and changing stuff around may find that these requirements, hopefully you'll find that they give you just enough freedom to kind of do a little bit of that, okay? How many of you have seen or heard of this game before, Yoked? Okay, a few of you, it's kind of a legendary game on campus. This is a game that was made a few years ago in EECS 494. And EECS 494 final projects, they have a team of 4 to 5 students, just engineers for the most part, who get about 6 to 7 weeks to make a short, 15 to 20 minute game. And this is the game that they came up with, a game called Yoked. Actually, I think I'll show you the trailer. Let's take a look. Okay, so I think the team is porting it to consoles right now. One really cool thing about this game is as you play through it, there isn't a lot of narrative. Or is there? Because as you play this game, you don't really get narrative delivered to you in the form of dialogue or lengthy cutscenes. It's about what is happening in the background, okay? What kind of characters you run into. And for those paying attention, you will find that there is a plot. There is some lore, okay? This is a game in which you play as an egg trying to escape a kitchen. And you are, an egg that has come alive. You have hands that have grown and you're climbing. So you can figure out what happened here and what led to this whole game occurring if you, for instance, notice certain things like this postcard in the background. You eventually get to go up into the attic where you'll find a makeshift lab and some experimental stuff happening, and you will eventually start to get a feel for what happened in the game. So narrative is something we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how 3D platformer stories tend to be built. And what you're going to find is that there's some really useful structures that you can use for a 3D platformer that don't seem that interesting on the surface. But what's great about them is that they work very consistently, and they let you put your innovation into other things. Like, what characters will I have? What challenges will I have? So we're going to talk about this because you will need some semblance of a narrative, and you're going to be graded on that. Okay? Okay, so let's keep going. The reason I bring up Yoked is that it's very common that UMich students build something, and then they just don't quite, they're burnt out, okay? They look at the thing they made and they said, this is garbage, right? When you spend a lot of time building something, all you can see are the problems it has. And sometimes it's easy to forget just how good it is at certain things and how people with fresh eyes will see it. So, yeah, the team didn't really think they had anything super special, and then they give it a shot and they end up signing a 5-figure publishing deal with HitSense, kind of a smaller publisher, HitSense, but a really cool one. And don't neglect the value of what you're making. Five Nights at Freddy's is a fairly famous game. I brought it up in the first lecture, actually. Right? You've all heard of it. How many of you have actually played it? Any of you? What people don't know, right? People know that, Scott Cawthon made some previous games, and those games really struggled, but they inspired Five Nights at Freddy's, right? It's a very inspirational thing. You turn a failure into a great success. What people don't know is that Five Nights at Freddy's wasn't Scott Cawthon's third or fourth game. It was more like his 50th game. Okay? And so when you are an artist, when you are someone who creates media, when you create anything, one of the most important things you can do is actually release stuff. It doesn't need to be good. It doesn't need to get top-tier reviews. It doesn't need to make any sales. Okay, you'd like them to because that makes your life a lot easier probably. But what's most important is that you make things and you finish them, even if they're not to the standard you wished, and you get them out so that you can learn from them and so that you can move on and iterate. And so, Scott was extremely good at the things he tried to do because it was his 50th game with FNAF, with Five Nights at Freddy's, instead of his 5th game. So the only way to get to your 50th game, is to start releasing stuff. And that could be your 50th short story, your 50th little short comic book, okay? Whatever you're making, make a lot of it, and you're going to start to get good, okay? The tough thing here is how do you keep your morale up, right? Scott Cawthon released 49 mostly unsuccessful games before his smash hit that has him being a big Hollywood star now. So the question for us, I think, and the question that I'm not sure of, is how do you stay inspired and motivated for 49 games? Okay? The typical advice is your first 10 games will be terrible. How do you keep your hope alive for 49 games, let alone 10? Well, you have to really love what you're doing. And even if people are telling you, hey, this isn't very good, the reviews are coming in, this is garbage, right? I think you have to somehow find kind of an internal joy in doing what you're doing. I'm not sure how to do this. Yes?
I've talked to like musicians and a lot of people who create, and they say that you have to not think of, well, because I asked them like, do you create thinking about the people that you're going to reach? And they said no, because if I did that, I'd be thinking about a million.
You'd go insane.
Yeah. So you have to start with what you like, I think, even if it's not very good at the beginning. Because in the end, you'll get something cool. And maybe even if you look at your finished product a day later, you might think of it differently.
Yeah. I think it's a mix, because you're right. You got to love what you're making personally. Like, it has to have, something that you enjoy. But myself, like, I really enjoy taking my games to friends and family who I know will probably say, yeah, I like it. They're not going to crush me, right? Even if they are, not giving me the best feedback, because we talked about playtesting and feedback. Putting what you make in front of other people will give you some morale back, right? Give you a little bit of insight, a little bit of feedback, maybe enough to keep you going. If you can figure out how to do this consistently and fall in love with things consistently, you're going to be just fine. And when you figure this out, let me know so that I can add it to my lecture set, okay? Because wouldn't that be valuable? My goodness. Okay, this problem, this homework assignment has 3 problems, okay? It's kind of structured in the same way as your previous ones, except up here you can see you're given 14 days. I expect to hit the minimum requirements here, you're going to want like 10 to 12 hours, okay? And I say this because this is the amount of time it took me to create the original DayZ Tomb Rescue game after I had kind of most of the programming done. Not all of it, but most of it. So I think that you have a lot more time than I did. So you might take a little bit more time. Your game might be a bit shorter, but that's okay. What you're going to do here is in this problem 1, can I show you the rubric? Let me show you the rubric for this absolute beast. Let's look at this right here. Let's go to Custom Game Project, 200 points. And whereas usually each problem has an even number of points, each part of the first problem has 20 points available to it. Okay? How this works is if you hit every checkbox under these categories. If you look at the first requirement here, okay, requirement, playable characters. The game has a minimum of 2 playable characters you have modeled, rigged, and animated yourself. Okay, and some caveats, right? You can't use Daisy, Sandra, Tofu, or Snake, but you can use characters from previous assignments, provided you modeled, rigged, and animated them yourself. So if you used Mixamo on one of your characters that you created from scratch, you need to get rid of those animations and animate it yourself, basically. Each playable character design is a reasonable fit for the overall theme, setting, and narrative of the game. Okay, this is a little bit more of a mushy requirement, but if we're playing your game and it has a very distinct Wild West theme, and then one of your characters is just like a surfer dude, unless you've got a really good in-game explanation for this, and we'll be a little bit gentle on the grading, but we're not going to be super excited about that. So if you do not complete one of these checkboxes to the letter of the law here, then what will happen is we'll start moving you over columns. You'll move from full marks to high partial, and then if you start really making a mess of it, we will move you to low partial and then eventually to 0 if we think it warrants that. But in general, you have to hit these checkboxes, and if you've hit them on a technical basis, then we can't take your points away, okay? What might happen is if you lose points, but hey, Austin, like it's in the game, technically I did the thing. Well, you can ask for a regrade request, and I'm going to say technically you're right. So technically you get the points, okay? And you're going to get the points. So what was the phrase? Being technically right is like the worst way to be right, but you will be right. The thing, though, is that if you just barely, just complete minimum, everyone's going to know it. Everyone's going to be seeing your game, okay? We do have a showcase lecture on the schedule. Have you seen that? So it's just the final lecture of the year. That's it, okay? It's nothing special, but we are going to invite people from outside the class. We're going to, I think, get quite a few people in this room. You're going to have your game set up on laptops, on these machines, and we're going to be walking around for 90 minutes playing each other's games, okay? It should be a great time. Your games will also be public on the internet. The Wolverine Soft Discord is going to see your games. The Michigan Animation Club is going to see your games. Your games are going out, okay? That is part 3 of this assignment, of this problem. Okay, so other things, right? Each character has to have the icon in the top left corner, okay? Lots of small icons and also lots of ones that are way too big. You can't even tell what it is. That's a problem, okay? You have to have that looking pretty good. Each playable character has to have the following actions, and these actions cannot have self-transition problems, which is a self-transition problem is when, like, you've got the character in a victory animation, which would normally look like, yeah, right? That's cool, looks pretty good. But instead, here's what we see. And it's sometimes hard for us because we're like, wait, is that bugged? Or did they just, like, they thought that looked cool? And it's like sometimes we don't know, but usually we do, okay? So anyway, you want to make sure this looks to part, right? On other homeworks, on previous homeworks, maybe you got away with some issues on a few animations, but we're going to be going right down the list this time, okay? And we want to make sure nothing has any problems. Okay, one interesting thing here is that character select and hovered character select are not 2 required actions in here. Usually it would be the idle and the victory animations, basically. But your game might not have a character select in it. Some games will actually have you get to a certain point in the game and it will forcefully change your character. Did you know we have interactions for doing this? Right? You can make your own character select in the game itself if you want to. There are also interactions for locking and unlocking characters. So maybe you have to get to the end of the game and you save Luigi, and now, actually, Luigi is a playable character. That'd be kind of cool, isn't it? So you can decide whether you want the player to have the ability to tap the escape key and be able to see all their characters, or maybe, you force the character to change at certain moments in the game, or maybe you create your own character select in the game and make it work that way. Okay, kind of neat. All right, but you can decide. That's the important part. NPC characters are something you must have in your game. Now, if you're making an isolated game, if you're making like Silent Hill style game, very moody, you want to create a sense of loneliness and isolation, then this is going to be a little bit of a thing you're going to have to work around, okay? But NPCs can be really just about anything you want them to be. They could be literal phantoms or ghosts, okay? I think there are some requirements that you must have at least one usage of the interaction dialogue component, but that doesn't mean you have to get a lot, okay? The ghost could literally just ... all right? i.e. you're being ignored. You could have signs in the game, like a readable sign, like a message on the wall, and you go up to it and you basically, the thing on the wall is doing dialogue with you. It doesn't look at you, but there's not a back and forth, but that would count, okay? The NPCs have to have idle animations, and you need to have 2 different types of NPC characters. Trick question, kind of. Would the Daisy Tomb Rescue game meet this requirement right here?
Yeah.
All of it?
No. Yes, 2 types of things.
What are they?
Yeah, you got the Toads we used.
Toads?
And then Luigi.
Luigi and signs. But let's see. The toads, I did not model myself. I did rig them and animate them. The signs, I modeled. I don't know if they have a rig, though, and animate. They don't have an idle animation. So the signs don't work here, okay? And Luigi, let me see. Luigi, I didn't model myself. So my game fails some of this. It's looking at like a high partial or maybe a low partial or something like that. I have to count how many checkboxes we mess up. But you want to be careful, okay? Because this is not two toads. This is a toad and a Luigi, two NPCs. And Toad doesn't count, by the way. You can't use Toad unless you're making a Mario fan game. And then if you are, you can't use that model, like you want to make the models from scratch. These need to be made from scratch, okay? Okay, so environment. You need to have a minimum of 6 kind of really distinct environmental objects, okay? These are also significant ones. So if you model a battery and just kind of place it down, are we going to count that as significant? We're looking for kind of more environmental, bigger objects. Okay, we know you're going to create lots of small ones, and we want to have at least 6. You'll probably have a couple more. Okay, and we want them to have been modeled yourself. You can use things from the internet on this project, but at the end of the day, we're going to ask you, what are your 6 objects? And you better be able to point them out and show us. More on that in a sec. We want you to prove you understand the inverted normals technique for creating interiors, which means you're going to have at least one of those. You can't use any assets from the Daisy Tomb Rescue game. Okay? Daisy's gone. The toads are gone. That pyramid better be gone. Okay? I don't want to see the desert sand unless you have a desert-themed game, and it better be different sand. And even those platforms, the floating platforms, I know you're going to want to use them. Make your own, okay? I'm not giving you Creative Commons permission to use my stuff, okay? It's mine. You can use all my technology and all my techniques, but you can't use my stuff, okay? Gonna have to pay royalties if you use my stuff, okay? Damn it. Okay, not really. But be very careful, okay? A lot of the games we've seen in the Discord server, they break immersion pretty badly when you got this awesome new character, this beautiful new environment, and then you walk over and talk to a toad, okay? Or you see my pyramid in the background. So that's not what you want. Okay. A lot of your games currently use the exact orange fog and even the density from my game. So we want you to change that. We're going to be checking for it. Countdown area needs to be customized. You did this on previous homework. It doesn't make sense for your cowboy adventure platformer game to be collecting crowns like you're in the UK or something. Okay. So don't let that stay in there. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb. In terms of narrative, this is something we're going to talk about a little bit more today. This also doesn't just fit into what kind of story or characters you want to have, what kind of problems do you want to arise, but this is also feeds a little bit into the topic of player guidance, which we had a big lecture on. Do you remember E.T.? Remember Kya, Dark Lineage, right? This idea that we can give players a nice, smooth way to escalate their knowledge of a game. We can make it so that there's not really any tutorial. The game is just good at teaching the player while they play. It doesn't throw them in the deep end immediately, which is what I sometimes accidentally do, like on homework 10. And we're going to talk more about what that can look like today. I don't have a long lecture today. This is just... I feel like I haven't had any big lectures lately. I promise you our final lecture will be a nice, chunky lecture like the first half of the semester had. But we're going to talk about that more in a bit, so I'll come back here. One big one here is that we expect the kind of average, rough running time, play time, for a typical mediocre player, all right? Not like me speedrunning the game. Okay, I play a lot of this type of game. I'm probably going to bulldoze your game pretty quickly. But just a normal, average-ish player, we want it to be about 10 minutes in length. If you go and check out that the Daisy Tomb Raider game, the difficulty, even if I made that game easier, right? You're not, having to use a bunch of continues. That's still kind of a chunky game. You have to explore the exterior of the pyramid, get the key, get in, do some platforming, talk to some toads, solve a few puzzles, do some final platforming to rescue Luigi, escape with Luigi, and then there's a small scene on the outside to help you understand what you accomplished. You saved Luigi, and you calmed the pyramid down. So it's not emitting those magical particles anymore. Boom, conclusion. Right, that gives you about 10 minutes of time. And I think for many of you, it actually ate up hours of your day because I balanced it too hard. That's how it goes. But in the old days, if you needed to make a game longer, but you didn't have time to create more content, or you didn't have more memory to create more content, cartridges were not very big. They didn't have much capacity back in the day. One way to make a game longer was to increase its difficulty. That's something you can do, but we will be watching for games that are really unfairly balanced, and that's going to hit your points in other areas, okay? So, don't spike the difficulty too much in order to just get to that 10-minute length. The main menu is something you need to customize. If you want to read about what you need to customize specifically, what we'll be looking for, you can read about this here. Audio is a big one, okay? We are going to check for the announcer vocals. Just make sure they're different than Sarah Ruth Thomas, and then you're good. Many of you, if you're not happy with the current vocals you have in there, try and get some time with the recording booth. No extra credit, but it's going to create a really nice kind of quality to your voice. Playing the different games, it's really clear who went to the recording booth and who did not. Another thing, a lot of you are artists, okay? A lot of you have friends who are artists or who are in the drama and theater school, okay? You can try and recruit a friend or two of yours if you want to try and get some different vocals that might fit your theme a bit better or your tone a bit better. Or maybe you just want someone who's a little bit more theatrical, okay? And that's fine. You can do that if you want to. So we just care that you have something different. That's it, pretty much. You need some sound effects to be inserted for these things, these events. These are all the kind of animation events, and these are the different animations that you'll have to add some sort of sound effect to. This will make your game really feel like it is alive once you've got this done. And we're going to be looking for 4, and I'll just bold that, 4 different background musical tracks to be very obviously present. That's about the number that my game has, okay, when I was making this. You know why I made that game, by the way? I decided to just grind it out for 10 hours straight to make this game. You know why? Number 1, to prove the technology would work, to find a bunch of bugs, and to figure out what technology was missing. But also, number 2, to figure out, how do you kind of make a story, okay? Can you actually make a little short game that feels like kind of a complete game? And the answer is yes. And so this exists as an example to you. This right here gets a B on the assignment. You know why? Not because it lacks ambition, because it's big. This game is bigger than I think what many of your games will end up being. Hopefully not too much bigger. But this just misses some of these checkboxes. It just flat out misses them. Why? Because I made the game way before I made this list of requirements. So I'm actually going back through and adding some new features for next year. But anyway, you can generally go to this and you can kind of see what we're looking for you to try and achieve, okay? But there are some extras you'll have to have as well. You don't have to have as long of a game, but it's kind of a good little example hitting at least some of these checkboxes, okay? Audio, blah, blah, blah. Special effects. We need one of your playable characters to look at things as you walk past them. You just learned how to do that. Not a big deal, okay? I'll say, if you're curious how this is accomplished, we don't really teach that in this class. So if you are an engineer, or if you are just curious, any of you, double-click the component. It's a big component with a big name. all I remember is just neck. It's the only thing I remember. I search for neck and it pops up. It's like the first thing. Double click on it and you can actually see how this is working. The insight I'll give you is that we put all the logic into late update because the animator runs an update. And the animator has plans for like what the neck bone should be doing. Well, the animator comes through on any given frame and says, oh, Sandra's neck bone should be, okay, she's doing like the idle animation. So her neck bone should be like this right now. But then there's a toad right there where I am pointing. There's a toad right there in front of me. So in late update, the component says, wait a second, there's a toad right there. Take the neck bone and instead. So if you notice, she's doing her normal idle with the rest of her bones, but her neck bone is just kind of trained, maybe a bit creepily, okay, trained onto the nearby object. So in Greek tragedy, we kind of, I think we noticed that like it's a bit creepy if a character is just like, right? Just like, So blinking helps a ton with making the character seem a little bit less like a serial killer. And if you like have the character sometimes like just go back to normal, but then sometimes like go back, if you give a little pause, that really helps. Anyway, that's not something we expect you to fix in this this course, but you need to have at least one character that looks at other things as you walk by. And one thing I haven't told you that's kind of neat is if other players walk by, you will also look at them. So it's oh man, gosh, I feel like the Daisy game should have other Mario characters, and we should have a feature in the game where if you spawn in, it like chooses a random character in the roster that none of the other existing network players are using. So you can imagine a cool game where it's like not 5 Daisies all trying to save the day, but like one character is Daisy, one's Mario, one's Luigi, one's Peach, one is Yoshi. That'd be so cool. Oh my goodness. Ridiculous. I wrote it up here, but like I'm so excited. I want to put this game on like the Mario Fan Games Galaxy. Have you seen this? You've seen this, right? MFGG, Mario Fan Games Galaxy, an entire audience that is looking for exactly the kind of game I made. Okay? If I put this game out into general audiences, if I put this onto itch.io, no one will care. But this is the perfect audience for what we made. Okay? That's another thing. In this problem, in this homework, the final problem is going to be you going out there and trying to find a group of people who will care about what you made. If you're making a fan game, that's a little bit more straightforward. And you can make a fan game. You just can't use, you can use models from the models resource, but you need to have a few models you've made from scratch to meet the checkboxes, right? You can make a fan game if you want. This is not EECS 494. And if you do, you'll have a captive audience, okay? Just don't get the cease and desist letter until we've given you your grades, okay? All right. If you get the cease and desist letter, maybe get some extra credit. I don't know. Okay, because it was so good that Nintendo freaked out. Okay, so special effects. One character has to use dynamic bone. That doesn't necessarily mean a hair, but it does have to be a playable character. And you could do a tire. You know, if you've got a character with like a really bendy, big like elephant nose, that could be a really good idea for that character, right? So just think of what you could do. You need to have one particle system. You learned about particle systems in the previous homework, so we want you to use at least one of those as well. It can be really beautiful, right? Really set the mood, like with that beautiful snowfall, okay? I'm so happy that like we're getting our first snowfall. I was building the homework 11 assignment, and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know what to do. We got to do something with particles. I need a break. And then I open up the window, and I'm like, oh my God, beautiful snowfall. I know what we should do. And that's a surprising amount of content just comes from that. Just me wandering around my house, and then I see something. Okay. All right. Smoke, sparks, weather. Okay, you can use particles for all sorts of things. You need at least 5 different interaction types to be used in your game. That sounds like a lot. Doesn't have to be, okay? Interaction dialogue, which you already must have one of in the other requirement, is one of those. But you could have other things. You must use at least one lock. And so remember what locks are, right? You can lock on an inventory item. One really cool thing is that there is a lock we created for you. That is lock multiplayer. How does that work? Well, that lock will only unlock if there are a certain number you specify, a specified number of characters, network players, within a certain distance of the lock. So you could create a little puzzle where you have to go find some friends and bring your friends over here, and then it unlocks and you all rush through the door, right? Could be fun. I don't know. Pretty cool. If my server goes down, you're toast, though. If my server goes down, you should just message me. Like, why can't I see my friends? A reminder, you will only see other players if they're playing your web build. Okay? So if they're playing their own game, like, you're not gonna see them anymore. Okay? Technical quality. At no point should you ever see a red error message in the bottom right corner of the screen. If that comes up, boom, you just failed this checkbox. Okay? This is usually what happens, what you see if you forgot to put a vocal or sound effect into the game. And then you triggered that sound event where the game did, and there was no audio, so you get the error message. This can also happen if you are missing certain parameters, certain animation variables in your animation controller, okay? So you can go in, and if you're an engineer, you can literally edit those checks out if you want to. I don't really care. But we do not want to be seeing any of those nasty red debug messages, okay? That is for our development. If a user sees that, they're going to be like, whoa, this game's broken. If you're ever playing a game and you see a texture that is extremely, hot pink, you know what that means. In this course, you now know what that means. What does it mean? Yeah, this is missing or broken. And the reason hot pink, that kind of hot pink is chosen is because it's very rare in nature. Pink is very common in all sorts of games and all sorts of places, but that particular shade almost never used, okay? And they had to choose some color. So they chose that one. All right. You should never let the player become soft locked, okay? The only way the player should be restarting the game is because they've run out of continues or because they just want to start again. If you ever get to the point in your game where progress is impossible, then that's called a soft lock. Through no fault of the player, the game just cannot proceed anymore. And that's a big problem. This is considered very bad game design. It's considered a bug. And so if that happens, if the player ever has to refresh the web page at any point, to make it possible to complete the game, then that's a soft lock, and this checkbox has failed. We move you over one column, and you lose 5 points, okay? You don't want that. So how do you find soft locks? Because they can be hidden. Playtesting. Bingo. What's a good way to playtest? Yeah.
You have to be unpredictable, because it's really weird stuff.
Yeah. What if you can't be unpredictable? Like you're trying to play in ways you don't, but you just tend to play in certain ways. What could you do? Get other people. Lots of other people. Okay? You know why we go through the pain of those long build times with the web build? You know why? Because you end up with a web build, a link you can literally send to anyone. Did you know? Wait a second. Right, hold on just a second, okay? I'm going to have to walk around so you can see this on this tiny little screen. Okay, hold on. And I'm going to show it in front of the camera too. Okay, you see what this is right here? See what this is? Look really closely. I'll turn my microphone off. Look really closely. You see what this is right here? This is me playing through... Oh, it just reset. Why did it do that? Is it Moore's Law? Is that it? No, not Moore's Law.
Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law, yeah. If something can go wrong, it's gonna when you're showing everyone. Okay, this is me playing through the entire game, even interacting with characters from my mobile phone. Okay? So none of your friends have any excuse to not playtest your games. Oh, I'm not on my computer. I don't care. Open your phone up, okay? Beat the game. Props to anyone who can beat the game with this control scheme, because it's kind of tough. And I'll show everyone online right here real quick. Yeah, like you can play the full game and interact with things even. Click, yep, tap, there you go. Through your phone. Okay, so anyway, get people to playtest your game. Send them the link. That's why we went through the effort to do this. That's why web builds are so magical. Anyone can play them pretty much. And within just a few seconds. Question?
I think your friends are like the best person to play because they're going to try to break your game.
Possibly. It depends on your friends, right? Some friends will just like want to completely butter you up, right? Be very, very nice, very yes man kind of. And then other friends, it's go time. I gotta crush this person, right? Okay, how many of you have seen this issue? Yeah. I'm working on this issue. I don't fully understand why it's happening. I think it's related to the scaling that you put on the ground. What happens is when you jump onto any object in this test bed, we parent your player character to the ground game object. Austin, why would you do this? Well, we do it for moving platforms, so that when the platform moves, it takes you with it. Otherwise, it would just slide out from underneath you and you fall. Very nasty. One problem here is that as soon as you parent a game object to another game object, you start to inherit some of the transformation properties of that game object. So if this ground has been scaled on a certain axis, if you jump on it, you might be scaled that much too. So I'm working on it. You can fix it just by jumping and you go back to normal. But there's a component called prevent player parenting. If you pop that component onto the ground, it'll prevent this from happening. But if the platform moves, you won't move with it. Okay? Yes?
If I remember correctly, immediately after parenting, you should then be able to set the full scale, and that will affect the local scale.
I understand. I experimented with exactly that kind of stuff for a long time, and I said, I got to move on. So hopefully next year this won't be a problem, but it is this year, and we don't want to see this, okay? So you know how to fix it. Prevent player parenting component. Just type prevent and you'll find the component. Okay. And then miscellaneous. Your credits screen needs to have your name in it. Most of your games do not. Go find the credits.txt file. It is in your assets folder. This is not something you create. Go find the credits.txt file and then just edit it in a text editor, in anything. And it will show up in game when someone goes through the main menu to the credits setting. Okay? Make sure that you have this Unity project within your repo. Oh, I need to say one custom game. And we want to find your project. We might want to look inside of it. And then we want to make sure that you are doing this all via web build. If we can't play via web build, we're going to be very upset. And you're going to fail this checkbox at least. Okay? That is if we can grade you at all. So, all right, any questions on this custom project? You see it has some boxes you have to check, but you know, it isn't requiring like a great game experience. Okay? We're not going to be grading how much fun we have. All right? We do have some kind of soft requirements on length. We do want it to be kind of substantial. You got 2 weeks, 3 weeks really. But you have a lot of room. Okay? You have a lot of room in this this project. Problem 2 is going to be you recording a video. You've recorded quite a few videos this semester. You are going to complete problem 1 and get your final web build, and then you're going to record a video of yourself playing it. You're going to give us some commentary as you play through the game you made, and you are going to show us how you checked each of the boxes above. Okay? That means you're going to be playing your game for maybe half an hour, showing the animations you made, showing how to get through the game, showing the objects, what you consider to be your 6 big environmental objects or more. And so this is really important because if we can't get through your game, then this is what's going to save you, okay? And help us give you points in problem 1, even if we can't beat your game. Maybe it's too hard. Maybe we don't know what objects, or we can't find the 6 objects, so you lose points there. This video is going to help you out. Yes?
Do we need to have our webcam on for that one?
It would be cool, but I don't think you need it.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be really cool, though. All right. There's going to be another play test for the postmortem where you play the final games of some of your peers. But that's coming up. That's homework 13. Be easy. That's your final exam. I could make a final exam for you if you prefer that. You know, we could get everyone in a room and we could give you Blender and we could just say, hey, if you've got these things made in, at the end of 90 minutes, you pass, otherwise you fail, okay? If you want me to make that, just let me know, okay? Or we can do this post-mortem assignment, which is just an easy 50 points. So I'll let you choose on that one. Okay, I'll turn my microphone back on. The final thing you're going to do is exhibition. So once you've made your game, you have that final web build, you need to get that thing out there. So you're going to fill out a Google form to register your final build with us. This is what we're going to use. The gallery, your daily model gallery is going to be transformed a little bit. It's going to have, I think, your final game build at the top. And some other stuff as well, maybe. So this helps us do that. You put your final link in there, and you have a nice, beautiful final portfolio website. You are going to post your final web build in the Discord server so that other people can enjoy your game. And you're going to post and send this to Wolverinesoft. They want to see it. Michigan Animation Club, I think they want to see it probably. And then your final thing on this homework is to find one online community to share your game with. You can do it with as many as you want, but we need proof you've done it with one. You can try and do itch.io. I'll hopefully have some tutorials on how to do this up soonish. Game Jolt, IndieDB, Steam is kind of a hard one. Okay, you're going to have to pay like $100 and go through some hoops if you want to deploy on Steam. Good luck. Mario Fan Games Galaxy, if you're making a fan game. Sonic Fan Games HQ, if you make a Sonic fan game. If you're making a game with some other IP, like the Shrek IP or Undertale, then you might want to post your game to the subreddit, okay? You're going to get a lot of interest there, probably. But you can also post to any other big website that you can find as well, all right? So long as it's available to the public, you'll satisfy this problem. Take a screenshot, and that's it. Okay, that's it. End of the custom project. Okay. Let me see. On next Monday. Next Monday, we haven't quite gotten to Thanksgiving break yet. But next Monday, what I think we're going to do right here is I think we're not going to have you do any playtesting as part of the custom project, but we will do a playtest in here. Okay, you show up, we're going to playtest your game and get you feedback. Now, probably I'm going to tell you this will get points, this will get points. You need to fix this, you need to fix this. So it could be very, very useful for you to be at that one and get some feedback. Okay, and that's it. Any questions? Yes.
Sure, I know it says that our game files should be findable in homework 12. As far as the build we use, should we go off of the previous ones we've had and then just
I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, the checkboxes on the document, and I'm just going to look at whatever you send me. I recommend using the latest version of the test bed because it has the most features. It has bug fixes and stuff like that. But yeah, up to you. Any questions? Should be fun. I'll tell you what's going to happen to a lot of the students in this course. Going to wait for 2.5 weeks 2.5 weeks doing nothing. And then you're going to grind out the entire final project in the last day or two. It's going to be really obvious. Your portfolio is going to be not impressive in the slightest. And you'll have kind of sort of wasted your semester. But right now, in this first debut semester of the course, we don't have anything to put pressure on that. What we would do in other courses is we would say this homework 12 is going to be 2 assignments. There's going to be the check-in first half and then the final in the second half. That really does some good things to prevent that kind of pushing everything to the end. But we don't have that this semester. So it's really up to you. I recommend trying to get some things done a little bit every day. It can be really satisfying. I know it's tough. I know you're working on other stuff, homeworks, projects. But this could be a gem in your portfolio, okay? You want to get a job after this sometime, right? Well, if your project looks like garbage, that's it, okay? It's not going to be worth anything. So if you put effort in on this project, you're going to get not just points back. You're going to get a lot back, okay? This is something you'll be able to talk about during interviews. This is something you can send to studios. This is something that you can talk with other artists about, other engineers about. This is something that could help you get onto teams like Wolverine Soft Studio in the future if you want to. If it looks like crap, though, all the opposite is true. You send this project out and it looks low effort, then your resume is straight in the dump, okay? So do the best that you can on this project and try and have fun, okay? Like, I see these projects, and they look so cool. You know why I made the DayZ game? Okay? I told you a few reasons, but the biggest reason I made that game? It was damn fun to make that game. Okay? I had a good time making that game. Got to 2 a.m., and I'm like, yeah, but what if I added this puzzle? Okay? And I'm running out of time, but what if we could escape with Luigi? Okay? And it was awesome. All right? Just super fun. So hopefully, I know a lot of you really get carried away with the daily models because you're having a good time. So if I could make a request, procrastinate on your other projects and exams, not too much, just a little bit, and do so by working on this fun project, okay? All right, okay, I think that's enough. I want to talk to you about a really interesting topic, and it's not a topic that I have a ton of content on, but I want to give you a taste of what your story could be like. And in some ways, I think it's repetitive and not very inspired, what I'm about to show you. But in other ways, I think it's elegant and reusable and efficient and beautiful for kind of the same reasons. So let's take our 5-minute break, and I'll turn some music on, and then I want to play a game with you. We're going to play some Spyro the Dragon, okay, when we come back. We're going to play the remake, okay, because that's the one I have. See you in 5. Oh, if anyone sees Nikki, Natalie, Nikki walked past. Everyone forgets you can get stickers by playing the web game on 494.com, and she sent me footage of getting the bad ending, so she gets the sticker. So if she tries to escape, because I think she's in there, send her up here. Right. Okay.
I had some more questions that I
Yeah, because you've got a kind of unique situation.
Yes, I do.
Your game's going crazy.
So, first question, how much data are we allowed to send over the network? Is this costing
If you blow my server out, it would be annoying.
Oh, you have.
There's no requirements.
Okay.
But remember, the server is...
So it's not that we need to keep it to a bare minimum?
No, I'm not checking. But, the server, I think the cap is 100 users overall on the server.
Okay, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, so don't go crazy. And, you're only going to get so much information from the server no matter what you send.
Is it 100 users on the server or 100 users per group?
100 users total.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we have a lot of people just jamming...
So at the showcase?
Yeah, some players might not show up. You'll see some players in your room, but other players who are in your room might not be reported to your client. I think that's how it works.
No, I was just curious, if I wanted to add a chat system or something, because it's
the server won't support that kind of thing. So you'd have to you could set up your own server. So you've got a client talking to one server for multiplayer and the other server for chat. That's actually a thing that is not uncommon.
What does the server support?
The server only reports position.
Well, also I looked in the.
Well, okay, sorry.
Is it that specific like event struct that you like have?
Yes.
Like state.
Yes. So the server
character name, position.
If you send more information to the server's going to be like,
okay, so it doesn't send like that struct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's sending that struct, but if you add additional things to the struct, it'll go to the server. The server will be like, I'm just dropping this.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is I can pack chat messages into the state.
You could possibly.
Because it's a string.
You could possibly. And I think it would actually send that over. That would be really funny if you did that, actually. Because you know what? All the other students are going to be like, is this dude hacking? Did he hack your server? Kind of.
Yeah,
it's fine. Just don't crash my server.
Yeah,
if you do, let me know.
If you'd rather I not like work with it, I won't.
You can. It's just like, let me know how to fix it. Because eventually some student is going to try it without telling me. And then I'm going to be very sad.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I won't, if the server will only accept that struct, I won't send anything else.
I think that's what's going to happen.
See how I can use that data.
Yeah. You can probably pack it into the states. Yes, Catherine.
How many, you mentioned like, we can grab a few other friends and stuff to help out.
Yes.
How many, like...
Wait, help out? What do you mean?
Like
the 494 students can hire you.
They can hire us. Okay.
Help out.
You mean something about like some of your friends are artists, some of your friends are drama students.
Oh yeah. So if you want to get their voice, like the narrator, the announcer, you can do that. So we got some programmers who I wanted to get them in the booth to experiment with Audacity and stuff. But for their final game, if they want like a genuine voice actor or actress, like, go find someone, bring them in, hire them out. I don't care. I just care that it's different from Sarah Ruff's default announcer voice.
Okay.
That's what matters.
And can they only contribute voice, or because I was also considering like working with people for music. I think I mentioned
theoretically, if you wanted to go grab models from some of your friends in this class, you could bring them in. You just couldn't. You couldn't. You would have to, in order to check those boxes, you have to have at least 2 characters you make.
I will have plenty of my own stuff, but I'm wondering if I can also integrate other people's.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can actually. Like, there's nothing in the assignment spec that says keep other people's stuff out.
Okay, I was just checking that if I like bring on friends to do like music or like some art like that.
Congrats.
Thank you.
All right.
That's on me. It's like I had an idea of what I wanted to do. So I have my 3 albums. I've had this campaign for like a good. I want to do a game with them. And it's about
Really quick.
Do we need like lives in the game?
It does say that. It's one of the checkboxes. So it's not super specific though. So you could restylize them if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I think it just says you need to be like a reasonable size.
Okay.
Okay. Blah. Blah. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back into it. So this is the Spyro Reignited Trilogy, a really great collection of the first 3 Spyro games made in the last few years, I think. The original Spyro games were made for the PlayStation. You've seen some footage from them already, and they were very prolific. Spyro is a beloved series. Part of that comes from the very elegant way that they tell stories, or at least very consistent way that they tell very clear stories. And so I'm going to show you one of the stages. In fact, I might show you two if I can. I'm going to show you one or two stages in this game. And I want you, as I play through this, I want you to pay particular attention. How does the Spyro series create an understandable, short, efficiently told story? What is the structure of it all? Okay? All right. Now, we don't care about the larger story. In this game, every stage has its own story. So I'm going to skip the intro cutscene. I'm going to skip the second intro cutscene, and now we're into it. What can you tell me about this map right now? You've seen almost nothing, okay? Can you tell me anything interesting about this map? Where you start? Where did the designers put you?
In a little corner.
It kind of looks like you're in like a mine or something, where all these gems and pickaxes. Even the music kind of sounds rocky.
Yeah, the theme is really nice, right? It's consistent. This is a mining level. There are gems, there's lots of stone, there are people with pickaxes. What I want you to notice is that, oh, that's super cute. The character comes up. Okay, I'm trapped, okay? I am trapped, and the only way out of this little starting area that I'm in is to walk past this character. Watch what happens when I try and leave this area.
Hi, Spyro! Welcome to Glimmer! Unfortunately, Frasa Mama Lizard just showed up and started stealing all of our gems! Can you stop them?
Okay. The narrative has officially begun. And you can tell me what this simple story is going to be about, right? We have some characters, these mice characters, they're miners, okay? How can I tell they mine things? That's their job. They don't say that they are miners, that that's what they do. You don't see it in the text here.
It's mostly from the hard hat.
Yeah, it's from the hard hat. It's from this awesome light, okay? And they say, we got lizards who've showed up, they're stealing our gems. Help us, Spyro. Boom. It is not a super complex story, but at least it is a very clear and well-defined one. Okay? And is it possible to get into the level without getting this context? No. Well, technically I think it is, but you're very likely to get this context, okay? The fuse has been lit. The narrative is officially in motion. We have our objective. Our objective is this. Hello. Okay. And we're collecting gems, and we're running around, and we're taking care of the lizards. Okay. The lizards are stealing the gems of our little friends here. And so we are now into the middle part of our story, believe it or not. We're still kind of in the early part. Have you seen anything in here that can hurt me? No. Well, now, this is the one thing in the starting area that can hurt you. But in general, when you start a story, you escalate it. The first part of the area, the first area, is safe. It is a place to get used to the camera controls, a place where you can just walk around and get used to jumping around, moving yourself. Okay? You can sometimes talk to characters and get a little bit more context. You can find some little goodies, okay, that you might like, all right? But you are trying to train and teach the player right now without them getting into a bad situation or without them getting frustrated. You're also providing just enough narrative for them to feel like they have something they need to go accomplish, all right? Now, we're going to move further into the stage. I want you to watch what happens, okay?
I'm a friend of Alora's, and she asked me to help you out. Whenever you find me, I'll remember your progress. Like this. That zap means that if you get into trouble, I'll return to this place. See you around.
What was that? What was that for? What did we just learn about?
Checkpoint system.
Bingo. Checkpoints. Okay? And it was contextualized too, right? It is not just a little checkpoint flag. You know what? I should have had you customize the checkpoint flag. What the assignment has officially begun like an hour ago. Like, do you think everyone would get mad at me if I added that little checkbox? You gotta customize the, oh, and everyone's giving me the stink eye. You want, oh, okay, Nicholas gave me approval, which means it's gonna happen, okay?
Make it extra credit.
Make it extra credit? I'll tell you what, if you, if you like go and grab the document right now and make a PDF so you can prove, Austin, this requirement wasn't there when the thing launched, then you might be excused from it, okay? You can use the PDF to prove it. All right, anyway, pay attention to how the story escalates, okay? We're meeting some new characters, we're grabbing stuff, okay? The mood has changed. Look at it. We're no longer outside. We've gone inside. The colors are different. The lighting is different. We're seeing some new things. That is super important. It feels like we're making progress. We're traveling. We're not just always outside, okay? Go inside. We got some more lizards. These lizards are causing chaos in the story, but they can't hurt you. Because this is the first stage, and we want the player to have a pretty nice training grounds, okay? All right. Okay. Walk over here. Watch what's going to happen. Watch this.
The gem cutters are a bit too short to climb these ladders, and it looks like you are too. After you learn to climb, come back to Glimmer to see me.
Okay. There's a new mechanic right here. There's a new game mechanic, and we get a little bit of context on it. Okay? But you also get some flavor text. It's not simply a sign saying, hey, you need the climbing ability, come back later, right? No, there's a little bit of flavor text. There's like, oh, I wish I could climb this. Looks like you're a bit too short to climb this too, but hey, maybe later you'll figure it out. Come on back. Okay? So often you want to give players information and help them out, but you want to dress it up a little bit. Okay? And you're going to see this when I show you how we attempted this in the Daisy Tomb Rescue soon. We're about to come up to a special interaction. Okay? Are you ready for this? Watch this.
You can't use the bridge without paying, and you do not appear to have enough gems.
Pay 100 gems, huh? I can't afford it. This is a character called Moneybags. He wants your money. And this is a character who goes and gets you to go collect things, inventory items, basically, in order to proceed. He provides the incentive to go explore the environment so that you can find gems and come back later. This is an interaction. I want you to tell me exactly what component from your testbed codebase that this bear is using. This bear says, hey, we could spawn in the bridge if you brought me a required item, gems, and I want 100 of them. What does this sound like? This sounds like a special type of component, not an interaction, but a lock. Bingo. This is a lock. It's a lock inventory item because they want you to bring some gems, okay? They want you to bring 100 gems. I almost have that many. So, here we go. There we go. And here we go. We're going to come back. All right? Coming on back.
Back again, eh? And with plenty of treasure, I see. Would you like me to open the bridge? I won't even increase the price.
Should we? No.
You'll have to pay up sooner or later. It's the only way across. I have to look after my Avalar's financial well-being. You know.
If you want to do voice-acted characters in the test bed, you can kind of do it. How would you do it? Yes?
Is that what we did last week? Events.
Well, kind of. Kind of. But what you want is I go up to a character, I click on them, and I hear something, and then I read something. So, multiple interactions. You can have an interaction sound that triggers some dialogue to start running, and then interaction dialogue that actually brings you up close to read what is being said. The biggest issue is that maybe they become a bit desynchronized, but you can implement this kind of voice acting on your characters if you want to. Okay? All right, let's keep going.
Back again, eh? And with plenty of track.
Open up.
Thank you, Mr. Dragon. Spyro, was it? You can now use the bridge whenever you want, free of charge. I hope we meet again when you have even more gems.
Okay, what interaction did we just see there? The bridge spawned in. Now, we can't do that beautiful animation. We don't have the tech for that. But what could you do? You could use a certain interaction to make that bridge pop in. Yes?
Is it unlock or unhide?
No, it's change active state. Interaction change active. You would make that bridge active. Okay? You're basically checking that little box in the corner that makes it appear. Okay, cool. So let's keep going. So you see, I'm taking down enemies. I'm reopening bridges.
Begin to look around. Press the action button. Try using action to look around this cave.
I'm looking. There's not a whole lot to see, to be honest with you. Okay, let's go. So you notice what I'm doing, right? We got our problem description. The lizards are really wrecking stuff in the mine. Spyro, can you help us? I've been collecting treasure. I've been opening bridges with that treasure. I've been defeating lizards, okay? And now we're getting toward the end of our story. What would make this story, this tiny little story, feel good and satisfying for a player? I'm helping it out, okay? I'm dealing with the problem. The problem is soon going to be solved or more or less solved. And what can we do to make the player feel good? Very simple, nothing crazy. Yes, Leo? There could be a boss fight, but actually, this is just a small stage, so we're going to have a more humble conclusion. What's going to happen? Watch this. Watch how they end this and make this feel nice and satisfying. Okay, I'm going through and got him. Okay, and watch this.
Spyro, thanks for helping us fight off the lizards. Please take this talisman of Glimmer as a sign of our gratitude. Next, we take you to Summer Forest, one of the folk worlds of Avalon.
And stage complete. That's it. That's the whole story. Okay? And then this is a bigger game, right? So this is many stories like this linked together, one after another. But what happened at the very end that makes the stage feel like a satisfying conclusion? It was really small, but what happened?
Thanks for actually doing it.
Yeah, hey Spyro, thank you. You're surprised how few people actually express gratitude when you help them out, all right? But in this game, the characters generally will express gratitude and they'll give you a talisman. What happens at the end of the Daisy Tomb Rescue? You get outside the pyramid, which feels really good. The toads are all gone. Luigi is there, and what does he say? Hey, thank you. You're the best. You're actually a pro gamer. Thank you. Right? That's a little bit better than a thank you, I think, right? And then you get to look up as well and see, oh, the pyramid has calmed down. And by the way, the sandstorm is gone too. You can see much further. The fog is gone. So it's this really nice feeling. The music is different. It's a nice way to end and conclude a story. And also, what did he say? Didn't just say thank you, Spyro. He said something else that was really important. What did he say?
Take this talisman.
Take the talisman, yes, but thank you for what? He says, thank you for helping us with, yes. Yeah, thank you for stopping those lizards, Spyro. Things are much more peaceful now. Take this talisman, see you later, okay? It's good stuff, right? You can feel that I had some impact here. The mines were in chaos, and I came and I kind of settled the situation down, and now everything is in a much better shape, okay? That is really, really simple, basic. It's not a lot, but it's good stuff, okay? And if you have it, then players are going to feel really satisfied. You can do a little bit more than that, okay? But again, you're making one game, and the team here had to make like 30 different stages, okay? 30 different stories. Yes?
So then it's about feeling like the player made an impact on the world, right? Like
Yes, exactly. That's the most important thing. I want to feel like I am solving problems and making a difference, right? And I'm not just talking about like people playing a game. I think that's what people really want in the real world too. Okay? So a little interesting thing. So this Spyro game has a lot of miniature short stories like the one we just played in Glimmer to start the game. We are now in a hub world with one of our really important main characters, and this hub world is going to connect us to the other short stories. After completing about 4 or 5 more of those short stories, we'll have a huge boss fight. And then we'll move to another world that has a bunch of additional short stories. Okay? That's really how to think of this. Many 3D platformers are a collection, anthologies of short stories. They're all connected to each other. Most of these short stories are basically chaos is happening in a lot of these short stories because of the main antagonist. You can see his banner right up there, okay? And so all these short stories are isolated and contained, but they're also linked in a small way to each other. Sometimes you'll see characters from one short story showing up in other short stories. So here's a game called Idle. Here's another short story called Idle Springs, okay? And I'll show you this one, and then we'll move on, and I'll show you a couple other things, okay? So again, take note of what is the problem in this short story, and what is the structure? How are the game designers expressing this and helping us feel like we're solving a problem? Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so even from that cutscene, you have a feeling as to what the problems are. Watch this.
The idols are going to come to life. They've locked us out of our temple, stolen our food.
Okay, so what is the problem within this short story?
The idols have been alive.
Yeah, so the idols that have been carved have come to life, and they're causing all sorts of problems now. Okay? And so we now have some problem we need to solve. All right? So let's come over here. As I solve problems, I can sometimes interact with characters. Right? When you see other characters in the environment, and especially when they do things or follow you, you really feel like you're actually helping them out. Okay? Point. Okay, let's get through here. That NPC, right, was being basically kidnapped by that particular character, that enemy, that idol.
Shields are making enemies invulnerable to your flame attack. If you press and hold charge button, you can defeat them with your charge attack.
Okay. Let's keep going. If you wanted to, how could you make characters run on a path? Like we just saw an NPC being chased in a circle by an enemy that was also running in that same circle, just right behind it. What could you do? Do you know any components? In the Tomb platforming game, you saw that there were platforms going like this, right? There's a component called Move on Path, which is very powerful. You could use it to create very basic AI as well. If you wanted to make a village with a bunch of cool characters walking around, make it feel lively, you could do it in that way. Am I going the right way? Yeah, I think so. Okay, there we go.
To aim the camera left to right, use the right stick.
So, we had the beginning of the story where we got basically the problem. We were told what the problem was. We could see the problem. We had the middle section where we were solving that problem, taking out some of the idols, freeing the carvers here. What is that guy doing? Okay. And now, imagine what we're about to see at the end of our little short story now. What is about to happen?
Well, you're pretty tough. If you ever want a permanent job, we've got a place for you here. But for the moment, I want you to have this talisman.
And that's it. That's the end of the short story. Okay? And the character, again, basically said, hey, thank you. You're really tough. If you ever want to come back here, we could really use your help. You can help build stuff, right? So a little bit of flavor text, but basically just gratitude. Here's a talisman. Here's the way home. Now, that's not necessarily the end of this short story, because you can learn more about the problems these characters are facing if you continue to explore. You will find other challenges. You'll find other places to explore to help deal with the idols even more. Okay? I haven't played this stage since I was a child, so I'm not sure where these other little miniature challenges could be, but they're here. Where could they be? Let me see. What's over here? I remember there was one challenge where you were like, you had to like feed a tiki. It was really weird. You were feeding an idol, like fish, I think. Let's see if I can get back there. Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, that's the one right over there. So what happens when I flame this? Okay, well there you go. Oh yeah, this game makes collecting feel incredible. This kind of 3D platformer is so focused on collecting things. It's sometimes called a what? A collectathon, exactly. Can I talk with this character? There's a mini game here where the idol will talk to you and ask you to feed it fish. So the fish jump up and you have to flame breath the fish and cook it right into his mouth. It's pretty cool. But basically the structure here is you get started, you get a problem, and you then deal with the problem, and some sub-problems, some puzzles sometimes show up in the middle, but at the end you usually have something a little bit more climactic, and then you get a nice thank you. Okay? Some of these short stories are so short that you don't have a lot of that, but that's basically the structure of how a Spyro game works. They twist it up a tiny bit over time, but that's kind of how it works. And it worked back then, and it worked now. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, Austin, I want to have a story that's a little bit more complex than that, a little bit more involved than that. Well, that's totally fine. You can customize your story however you want, but I want you to see the beauty in what they set up, okay? Why is this kind of setup beneficial? This approach to storytelling structurally is not innovative, but it is consistent and it works. And whereas it's not very innovative in its structure, it is innovative in the cool characters and some of the cool situations. Okay? And so, this is something that you can use if you want to focus on creating great characters and great atmosphere. You can innovate there, and you can kind of pull this structure off the shelf. You've got a beginning where NPCs and environmental cues and messages help you understand some sort of problem. And then you also are given a safe area to kind of experiment and get stronger, exercise your abilities. You have a middle section where you are actively solving the problem, and you are trying to do platforming, and you're trying to defeat enemies. In this 3D platformer we're making, there's not a whole lot of combat. You could try and make like keep away combat. Like you could have an enemy that's following you, and if it has a interaction where if you touch them, you get destroyed, right? You get KO'd. But there's not a whole lot of way to fight back unless you're fighting back by like hitting switches or dropping them off platforms. So it's kind of puzzle combat. But this middle section is where you're kind of doing the job and getting things done, and then you have some sort of finale. Maybe it's exciting, maybe it's not, but you feel like you helped the situation somehow, okay? And there you go, all right? That is a structure you can use. That's kind of the minimum of what we require. You can go beyond that if you want to. I think the last thing I want to show you, okay, these kind of structures, these reusable narrative structures, are very common in different forms of media. You've probably heard of the hero's journey, which is very common in novels and also in films, okay? Star Wars being a huge example of the hero's journey. You have some characters that are living kind of a humble existence. They get some sort of call to adventure. Some sort of bigger problem is revealed to them. They then start to meet characters that help them grow, and they overcome some challenges, and then they have a horrible problem or a horrible situation. Something bad happens, gets the audience all sad, and then they upgrade or change their outlook or whatever in order to overcome that big challenge, and then finale, and they return home. Okay? And that's kind of how that story tends to go, and it works exceptionally well. People love this approach, and it works. People make fun of the approach because it's so common, but what this does is it allows you to say, my structure will be fine. I'm going to innovate in these other areas because I know my structure will be fine. I'm going to use a structure taken off the shelf, but I'm going to have amazing characters. I'm just going to focus on the characters, okay? So anyway, these reusable structures allow you to focus on what you want to focus on and kind of guarantee other parts of your story will work well. There's a fun book on this kind of thing called Save the Cat, okay? Which sounds like it would like be the perfect book for like a Spyro kind of structure, wouldn't it? But you can look into books like this, screenwriting books, guides, and you'll find a lot of different structures that can kind of not guarantee your structure is going to work, but give you something that will probably work. So you can focus somewhere else. I want to play the latest version. This is a little bit different of the Tomb Raiding game. And I want to kind of show you how I attempted, with the technology you have, to build something that would be in this structure, okay? This is a little bit more involved than the Spyro stories, now that I've, reminded myself what the Spyro stories are like. So we get into game, And in this version of the game, you were just in the middle of a sandstorm, actually. If you walk forward and explore a little bit, it will kind of unveil itself over time. So that cool shot, the pyramid comes in. We got this nice sense that we're in a desert. The first character, just like in Glimmer, okay, just like in Idle Springs, the first character you run into is put right out in front, so there's almost no chance you'll miss them. This is the first character we'll probably talk to, and what is this character going to say? Oh no, oh no, oh no, 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 right? What are we going to do? And that's it. More brief than what the Spyro characters tend to open up with, okay? But this tells you something, right? What does this say? This short little interaction.
Something's wrong.
Something is wrong. And now our mission is to figure out what. Well, we have another character. The second most prominent NPC is right here. And he's face down in the dirt. That's great, right? I know you told us, never enter the pyramid. Boom. Okay? We now have a lot of what we need to know. Okay? And we get a little bit more. Okay, who entered the pyramid? Mario's brother, he didn't listen. If only we had the key. Okay, you get a lot from this second character. You learn what is going wrong. You knew something was going wrong. Now you know what went wrong. You know who is involved. And you also have the immediate next objective. A key, you said something about a key. Oh, we can't even get into the pyramid. So this is the safe opening area where you're encouraged, you're actually required to just kind of run around, jump, get used to the floaty controls. Okay, everyone complaining about the floaty controls. I like them. Yeah. I was going to fix them, but then I got used to them, and I liked them. Eventually, you walk around and you find other characters. Here's one. You talk to this character. Looks like it's just dying here, this toad. Look at that. Item required, water bottle. Okay, this is a new part of the intro game. You know where the water bottle is going to be? If you can't find the water bottle, you'll see the water bottle when you talk to this fourth character. Maybe Mario's brother never entered the pyramid. Maybe he got lost in the desert out here. But if that's true, why is the pyramid glowing? Okay? Something is going on in there. Okay? So this sets up the idea that the pyramid is angry itself. The gods are angry. Something's going on inside the pyramid. Mario's brother is missing. Connect the dots. The game doesn't connect the dots for you, but it will show you the dots. It creates dots and it asks you to do that in your head, which is part of what makes a story satisfying. Okay? You as the designer, as the narrative designer, you set things up, you introduce some facts, and you ask the player to connect the dots. You don't spell it out. Okay? Otherwise, you're stealing from the player. The player should have that sense of accomplishment and discovery by connecting the dots and figuring out what's really going on here. Okay? Basically, Luigi went into the pyramid and messed everything up. Okay? You also, right here, in case you haven't been able to find the water bottle yet that you need to proceed, this camera angle is set up to very specifically point it out to you. Okay? And so we're going to go up and get that real quick. This is forcing the player to prove they're at least okay-ish at jumping. And if they're not good at jumping, we don't want them going in the pyramid because they're going to get wrecked in the pyramid, right? Okay, gulp, gulp, gulp. Ah, thank you. I came back here looking for green Mario, but all I found was sadness. Here, take this. Good luck, princess. You're going to need it. Okay, here we go. And now I've got this key to get me into the pyramid. This is the end of the intro, the end of the beginning segment. Okay, our stories are probably going to have that 3-segment, beginning, middle, and end. We're about to begin the middle part, where we're actually in the pyramid, we're solving puzzles, avoiding traps. That's not the end of the storytelling, though, because we actually get to see what has become of the other toads who tried to solve the problem before we got here. Okay? One really fun thing, one thing that can make your story and world feel rich is to show what other characters have been trying to accomplish and what has happened to them. In this story, the other characters have goals. The other Toads are trying to rescue Luigi without you, and you get to figure out how they're doing. How are they doing, by the way? Not doing so well. And that's a really important part of making you feel important in the story. Watch, the Toads are trying to solve the problem. They can't do it. So we need to come in and solve the problem. We also get a little bit of information here, though this is actually out of date now, because this is no longer the first moment in the game where you must know what the jump button is. That's actually outside now because you must get the water bottle. So this piece of dialogue should change. Okay? Ugh. That's it. You don't need to say a lot. Should have pressed the space bar. Yeah, I just kind of ran off the cliff. Okay, grab a nice crown. The crown makes sense in this game for obvious reasons, but it would not make sense in yours, okay? Okay, we're dealing with some traps. Checkpoint. Okay, here we go. We have some more Toads. This one's kind of fun. Wow, Daisy, great job. It took you 6 minutes to reach us. No wonder you're the princess, huh? Okay. Let's see here. Linguini, you know, Mario's brother. He must be very close now, but where? Well, there's a passage above us, but how do we get up there? Okay, so the challenges continue, and that Toad is put here for player guidance reasons. It's very easy for a player to just run through this hallway and not realize there's good stuff here. That's also why there's a crown up here, to try and get the player to notice that, oh, they should come back here at some point. There's a sign to tell them about the trials. Hey, trespassers beware, for head lie 2 deadly trials. Complete them and ascend to the heavens. And a little bit of flavor text to try and get you feeling you should go up. Okay, you want to go up at some point.
Check.
Okay, we have 2 trials. Cheetah trial, this one's the easiest one, right? Okay, here we go. Everyone's watching me. I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. Oh my goodness, look at that. Okay, I'm going to grab that key. I'm going to talk to this Toad. Uh-oh, that's not a good camera angle. Princess, I don't feel so good. Don't leave me. Bye-bye. Right, so a little bit of humor can be very helpful, right? If you know what players will do, if you've watched players play your game, you can often design your dialogue to make it quite funny. So if you, oh my gosh, if you know the player is under a lot of pressure during this segment of the game, a little bit of dialogue to that effect can really be very fun. Okay, let's go and let's solve this problem. Come on. I lost my key. I'm going to take it safe so we don't run out of time. 17 minutes. I got to beat this game quick, okay? I ignored the key. I don't even want it anymore. Okay. One thing that's a little bit tough about this game is that the main reward we have for players are extra lives, which is a good reward, but you want a diverse set of rewards as well. So we have another way of rewarding you, like the keys, the inventory items. You can have them collect tons of inventory items. We now have a Toad to guide you even further. Keep going. You haven't completed the owl trial. You have completed the cheetah. When you've completed both, go back there. Okay? Players just kept like not knowing to go backward. So, like, I had to put that Toad there. That comes from lots of play testing, okay? I was watching people play the game. Oh, they don't know where to go. They don't know where to go. Oh, it's because, like, they're not paying enough attention earlier on. So put a Toad there. Put a cool camera angle there. Let's put a Toad way at the back so that we get a reminder to go backward once we completed both trials. This reduces the sense of isolation that you might want in a deep, dark tomb. But what does this also do? What's one positive of our Toads showing up as we make progress? What's one positive? Do I feel like I'm doing this alone? No, this is a team effort. Other people are trying to help me out. Okay, there are some stakes here. The Toads really want me to succeed. They're not much help, but they're trying their best. Okay? And that makes everything feel a bit more rich. I think my moving platforms are actually broken for some reason. So this part's easier than normal. I'm not sure why. I'm going to have to debug that. Hopefully your floating platforms won't be broken if you try and use them. Otherwise, I'll have to issue an update middle of the project. We get to the end and we finally get some story, right? The green guy, he confessed. What did he do? He used Gen AI to make a logo. Then he entered the pyramid to seek forgiveness. The gods trapped him instead. Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay. Now that's a good example of telling instead of showing. Okay. When you do like exposition dump like that, it feels a bit cheap. So there are other ways to try and squeak out what Luigi did to mess up the pyramid. Here we go. Incredible. You did it. You saved Lucas. And then we get some stats on how much time it took and how many deaths, right? That's kind of cool. There's a variable system in the game. And if you want to use those variables, you can set them up. Here we free Luigi and we get a little bit of congratulation. Wow, Princess Daisy, let's get out of here before the place collapses. Here's our big finale. Let's go. We got intense music. We got a big timer. We got screen shake. We got platforms that are collapsing. We got spikes everywhere. Luigi is following us. There's a lot of technology being used, a lot of interactions. We got a new mechanic that just sends us flying into the sky, right? We're trying to climb out, okay? We're on the clock. Go, go, go. Okay, this crown pulls us over here, so we see there's an interaction. We need the escape key, okay? Let's go ahead and... some players didn't know how to deal with this, right? The puzzle here, under pressure, is that you're not supposed to use these platforms, right? So you can jump over them to save them for later. Okay, come back over here, use it, lower the platform, and ascend to the heavens. We got 10 seconds left. Epic escape. Okay, and now, look at that. The fog has reduced a bit. Look at the calming music. The panicked toads are gone. We can even see the hole that we just jump out of. Okay? Talk to Luigi. Thank you, Spyro, for getting the lizards out of our cave, right? Here's the talisman. Okay. Woo! What a rush. You're a pro gamer. Thanks for saving me. Look, the pyramid is no longer glowing. Let's get out of here. How about lunch? I'm buying.
The end.
Yeah, I think she says the end twice.
Thanks for playing.
Okay. She might say the end twice. So actually, I changed the logic for the audio and back to ending. I changed the logic for the audio events. Now, it will play every sound effect in the group before it ever repeats. So if you were like trying to get certain vocal lines to happen and you had to just keep like doing things, that's not going to happen anymore. You're fine. So do you see the structure here? It is that Spyro structure, but there's a little bit more to it. The intro is a little bit longer. The middle sections have a little bit more depth, a little bit more going on, some interactions, some traps, and the final conclusion has an escape, and also, you get a view of what you accomplished, right? Luigi says, thank you for saving me. You're a pro gamer. So we have that part from Spyro, but we get a bit more. We get to see, look at the pyramid. The particle system is disabled. It looks like everything's back to normal. The toads are no longer freaking out. Maybe they're trapped in the pyramid still. Like they didn't make it out, but don't think about that. And, let's go get lunch, okay? And then victory screen, you win. Recycle. Most of the games I've played don't have any story at all, okay? The ones you've been posting into the Discord server. You don't need a super complex story. Simple stories work extremely well all the time. But if you make a simple story structure like this, it is going to put pressure on your awesome characters. You're going to want them to be great. And it's going to put a bit of pressure on some of the platforming challenges and puzzles you decide to create. Okay? So depending on the kind of game you have in mind and the kind of story you want to tell, maybe you want this simple structure, maybe you don't. But you almost certainly want things to escalate over time, and you probably don't want the player to be super confused, at least not for the whole game. One nice thing about simple story structures like this is that they don't leave the player confused. They don't leave the audience confused. If the player is confused, there's a good chance they're frustrated, and they don't feel like they're accomplishing anything. In the Spyro, right, in the Spyro short stories, and in this short story, you feel like you're making progress, right? You're getting deeper into the tomb. In Spyro, you're taking out more and more lizards. You're kind of building some infrastructure, okay? And so when you get to the end, you feel like you accomplished something. Nice, satisfying, short story. That's really what you're making, okay? Does anyone have any questions or comments? If you're ever confused about how certain things were made, how was that moving spike wall made? Only using components, no custom code at all. Okay, you could make it in your games. How do you get Luigi to follow Daisy at the end? How do you respawn Luigi if he falls into the abyss? Well, all of that is in the project, and you have access to this project. If you go back to Homework 8, Game Engines, you can see exactly how it was made. In fact, if you open up your test bed, this entire stage is in there. You can just run through it. You can look at the components that are being used. You can see exactly how it works. You can ask me in office hours how it works, okay? And I'll explain it to you. I'll show it to you. Okay, does anyone have any final questions? Okay, don't let us design your game for you. This is your game, but we do expect you to have some semblance of a beginning, middle, and end. Those are checkboxes in here, okay? And we do expect an escalation. But beyond that, you can do what you want, all right? It's going to be a lot of work. Even making that short story took me about like 10, 12 hours to get everything working just right, okay? And so, don't go too crazy. Start small, build up. You can make things deeper if you have time. Okay, I'm going to be here hanging around for the next hour. So I wish you good luck. The best way to do this final project is to do a tiny little bit each day. At least think about it each day, okay? And that will make it a very nice, satisfying process. It's going to be really obvious who started at the last minute, okay? And you're not going to have a good time. You're not going to enjoy your final project, and no one else will either. But do the best you can. The more fun you have, the more fun your players will have, okay? And make git commits after every checkbox. Okay, after every little thing you add and you're happy with, make a git commit, because you don't want to get toward the end of this project and then, oops, something went wrong, and the only thing I can tell you is you have to restart, create a new Unity project. That would be a disaster, okay? So use git version control to avoid that kind of stuff. Okay, I kept you 7 minutes late. I will see you all Wednesday, all right? Have a good one. Hey, everyone online, take care. Bye-bye.